Hi, I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap, and this is the Pattern Play Greetings to Go kit. Now, it doesn't look like much right now, but once we assemble everything, it's going to be a fabulous set of 12 cards. So when you first get your collection, you'll separate out the fibers, set those aside completely, and you get a dozen envelopes with it, a whole bunch of card panels, and what you're really after to get things rolling are the sheets of cut-aparts. Some kits have 2 of them, some have 3, and you'll need a trimmer right away. So let's take a look at this cut apart and see how we want to tackle it. The goal always being to take off the narrowest pieces first without cutting through any of the pieces of artwork. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, starting with it vertically in the trimmer and removing this thanks piece from the edge first, and then going on down the line. As you do that, you'll see these little registration marks on the cut aparts that tell you exactly where your blade needs to make a slice. Now be careful here, you're going to need to rotate. I'm going to make a little flip and just kind of clean up this end cut here. And then cut horizontally for a little ways. And you'll just keep rotating and rotating until all of the little pieces are trimmed as indicated by those little registration marks. In this case, these 2 pieces stay together. Now when you get to a piece like this, it has an extra little mark right there. That means you should cut across that so that we can create a nice neat finish to that edge of the artwork. And the same thing here on this one. There are 2 little registration marks, and you want to make sure you cut through each of them to make 2 completely separate panels. So unlike when you're stamping greeting cards, you usually have a lot of scraps. These are the scraps from just one sheet of our cut aparts that we won't be using in our finished cards. Then go ahead and finish off the remaining pieces. Now when you're finished with all of the 3 sheets of cut aparts we've included in the Pattern Play Greetings to Go kit, you'll have a few scraps, like I said, and might have some mystery pieces. For this particular piece, I used the artwork with one of a daisy-shaped punch that I just have in my stash to punch some shapes out of it. And then on this piece, I just made it a larger trim piece to use as a card panel in one of my longer, narrower cards. So I'm going to gather up a few sheets of paper. What you're looking for is a tall, narrow piece of green. This measures 4 1/4 by 11. Then you need a narrow, long panel, 2 1/4 by 11. And then you also need a 6 by 4 1/4 gray panel. There should only be one of these in your kit, and for that we will need a trimmer. We're going to trim this into 4 individual strips. So let's place that piece horizontally in the trimmer, and we'll cut it at 4 1/2, 3, and 1 1/2. And what that will give us is a little anchoring strip for the 4 outside greetings of our A2 cards. Now earlier when we did all of our trimming, we cut 4 pieces of paper. One says, "Oh, happy day." One says, "Happy birthday." One says, "Just because," and one says, "You make my day brighter." So all 4 of these narrow art panels now have a nesting dark gray panel to add contrast onto the front of each one of our A2 size green card bases. Now you certainly can score, but in this case, I'm just going to take this piece of paper. We did cut it correctly with the grain, so I'll carefully just fold this in half, make a crease, and I'll burnish it with the bone folder. And then you'll notice that these darling little panels nest and fit edge to edge onto the outside front of your card base. This will always be a vertical card in this case. Then you have the long strip. You'll have 4 of these. They all get folded the same way. So we're going to accordion fold. Now you can score, but again, since we did cut with the grain, I think it works just as well to just fold it perfectly in half. And then take one of the free edges, bring it up to the mountain, meaning up to the mountain fold, that is, and the other, flip it over and take the other free edge, bring that up to the initial crease to exactly fold this into 4 equally sized sections. When we did our trimming earlier from the cut aparts, you'll notice that there were a whole bunch of rectangles, and they're all the same size, but they all have different artwork styles. Well, basically 4 different styles. There's this leafy style, the flowers, the bursts, and a greeting of some kind. Each greeting will match up with our outer card. So you have one piece of this style of artwork for each of these pop-up mechanisms, and then you have an inner greeting as well. Okay, it's just all a matter of staying organized. Now the but the fun part, I guess, is to create the pop-up mechanism for the card, the thing that makes this card come to life. And for that, we're going to be using this green panel. You should have 4 of them. It measures 8.5 by 4 1/4. And you will need a grid ruler of some kind. That's I recommend our 3x14 grid ruler for this part of the project. I'm going to place it on my paper. Now my green base is positioned horizontally and my ruler is vertical. And what I want to find is 2 1/8 inches from the left edge with my ruler. Okay, so the first big solid line vertically along this ruler marks 1 inch. Then I scoot it over to the next big vertical line here is 2 inches. Now, if I scoot it to the very next line, in this case it's a dash line, that's 2 1/8. And I apologize for the weird measurement. It's just how it's going to have to be. So I'm going to push firmly down on my ruler with my left hand, take my right hand and fold this corner down to the edge of the ruler so that I'm making an angled crease in my paper. So here's my angled crease. Now if you're left-handed, just put the ruler on the right side of the paper and do it with your right hand. And you'll put the pressure down with your left hand. Now leaving the ruler right where it is, I'll open up the folded paper and I'm going to bring this corner up here to make another angled crease so that the edge of the paper is sitting on my edge of my ruler. Basically all I did was made a 45-degree angle X right in the middle of my paper with the help of my ruler. So if you look at this X right here, this 45-degree on the ruler, you'll see it lines perfectly with the X on the middle of my paper. Finally, I want you to fold it like a hot dog. So just go ahead end to end, a nice neat fold. Remembering that every fold you make is basically building a foundation for your card. Crooked fold, crooked card. All right, so now I've got it folded like a hot dog. Okay, then what we want to do is, this is kind of the trickiest part maybe, is turn this fold in. I just see I kind of had to work with it a little bit so that that hot dog comes together and this becomes a triangle and that becomes a triangle. And then it looks like a house. Now, if you don't get that right away, do you see the peak of the house and then the sides of the house here and then it opens? If you don't get the hang of that right away, just kind of keep working with it. There's our X, there's a hot dog fold, and if the X's become valleys and the hot dog becomes a mountain, it comes together like this. And we have a peak here. All right, now here is our mechanism, and the way we glue this, adhere this to this thing that makes it pop up, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I found it's best to do it before all of this is inside of our card base. So basically what it needs to do is, with the mechanism positioned like an M, so the valley folds are at the top, it needs to sandwich itself between the doors of the house here, centered. Okay, and then that will end up living inside the card. Let's open our card base so you can kind of see. So we want to make sure that this is glued far enough up so that the peak doesn't go past the valley fold here on the inside of the card, and that the bottom of my M doesn't extend beyond the bottom edge of the card. I really hope that made sense. That was a lot of words. I'm just going to make a little mark here where I need to apply adhesive so that I can put this back into the right place on my mechanism. So the only place I'm adding adhesive is just right into that marked area. And then I'm just going to slide it right back in so that I realign the marked area. Notice it's just between the two little wings coming off my triangle. And then if I flip it over and I'll just mark again where the adhesive's going to go. Apply adhesive into the marked area and put it back down. So it kind of looks the same from both sides, doesn't it? And you can see how it's kind of in between there. Okay, the next place this needs to go is on the inside of my card base. I have used our bookbinding glue for this, but due to the lighter weight of the green paper, which it wasn't available in the weight I wanted it, I decided that the dry adhesive was a better performer for this. So you can use your ATG or any other kind of sturdy dry adhesive. So I'm checking for alignment. Flush at the bottom edge, flush left to right with a little bit of room here at the top, and all I need to do is just close onto the little peak. Flip the card over completely, open it, add adhesive to the triangular shape there, and close. The mechanism causes that accordion folded gray strip to pop up. Now each piece of artwork here will fit into the mechanism, and I could have added this artwork earlier, certainly, but I was concerned about just doing everything the right side up so that my greeting would match the orientation of my sentiment. So perhaps if you did it ahead of time, and just added the greeting to the front of your card last, that would be the logical way. So I'm going to take one each of the three different styles of miscellaneous artwork here and nest it onto the panel. And then I'll add, let's just use "You Are Special to Me" to this panel here. And we'll put "Just Because" onto the front of the card. Now here's where I love to use my grid ruler to help with alignment. I'll just maybe put this so that it's, I don't know, 1.25 inches from the bottom edge. Rest my green panel on the ruler so that I know that it's straight, because it just drives me nuts when I think I have it straight, but then I really don't. Okay, so now I have a completed card with the beautiful pop-up in the middle. For my next trick, I'll show you this fun Z-fold card, and for that you'll need a white panel for the main base, and that will measure 4.5 by 9.75, and then a lime green panel measuring 4 by 9.25. Each of these panels gets scored, and believe it or not, they get scored at the same exact measurement, 3. Because it's a Z-fold, I'm going to flip this over. Bottom goes up to the top, but we don't flip it the other way. And then score it 4 3/4. Kind of weird measurements, 3 and 4 3/4. So then I'll get my green panel in and also score at the same measurement, 3 and 4 3/4. Okay, set that score pal aside. And I'm going to fold according to the basic rules of folding. So bump of the score inside of the fold. Make sure it's nice and squared off with my card, and then I'll fold back on the other one. I do the same with the white piece. So here's my bump. I'll fold, make that a valley. And then I'll flip it, and okay, so now I have these two weird Z's. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you can see we have a narrow panel and a wider panel, and here we have a wide one and a narrow one. So they're going to link together like that, so that the large portion of the green panel is attached to the smaller portion of the white panel. Okay, and if you just lay everything flat, what's nifty here is when you place adhesive, if you simply flip the whole works over and apply adhesive to it while the card is flat, all of the adhesive will be in the right location. So that means all the areas underneath this fold are free of adhesive. So here comes my white card again, and I'll center the green on top of it. And it should have an equal margin all the way around. If you really want to do this my way, get out your grid ruler and make sure your panels are level. So now everything's adhered and the card functions perfectly. So from that point, you can go ahead and add your artwork. And I'll just show you a trick for the card that has the tag and the sentiment that says, "What's up? Hello, what's up?" Do you notice that there's a tag here? And I want to create a nice looking finish for that tag's edge. So I'll need my grid ruler, craft knife, and a cutting mat. And I'll just simply take my grid ruler and set the line of the ruler so that it's 1/8 inch from the angled portion of the tag, and slice away the excess triangle here. So just with the help of this ruler, I can see exactly where the first dotted line is. I'll line it up with my angle on the tag, and it matches all the others for a nice finished look. Your kit includes eyelets as well, so you can take an eyelet setter and punch a hole and add an eyelet and a little topper to this tag before you adhere it, but I'll just kind of show you now how this finishing touch works. If I center this hello tag onto the front green panel of my card base, and if I set this on the inside, it actually, when the card is closed, it will line up with the tag behind it in a clever way. The important thing is when I apply adhesive to this tag, I want to make sure that this area is free of adhesive so that the card will open. Because if it doesn't open, you got a postcard. All right, I'll realign this. And then all I need to do is I'll just double check my alignment here for like, where does this need to be? So it hides it and then reveals it. Okay, it'll be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of that fold and centered from top to bottom. Okay, so now the front tag, when it's closed, covers the "What's up? Hello, what's up?" Very fun, isn't it? So that's the Z-fold card for this trio of different card flavors. And I just want to mention one other thing about this card base here. It's made from the beautiful gray patterned paper. And be very careful when you're scoring this card base. From one side, it will read 7 1/4, and the other is going to read at 7 1/2. You want to make sure that your paper is in your score pal at 7 1/2, so that you score at 3 3/4, and thus create the correctly sized card. If you score in the other direction, either the card won't fold in half exactly, or it won't fit the gray panels we've included in your card kit. So if you fold and score correctly, the gray panel that we've provided should fit right on there, and of course it will fit perfectly into the envelope. Well, I hope you enjoyed making these cards. The pop-up is a lot of fun, as is our Z-fold. Well, they're all fun. Make a dozen beautiful cards every single month with our help and our helpful instructions when you are a member of our Greetings to Go card kit. I hope you join us.